All right. Welcome, welcome. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. Look, if you're here with us live on the chat, on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever we're streaming here, do go ahead and say hello in the comments. That'll be absolutely fantastic to hear from you. And as we go through this webinar today, it would be great to see some interactions. Now, before we get started, I just want to say thank you for coming. You go ahead and tell us where you're watching from. If you're here with us live, type in the chat and tell us where you're watching from today. So before we get started, very warm welcome. My name is Alan P. Hill, and I am one of T. Harv Ekker's trainers for the Millionaire Mind Intensive and the Millionaire Mind Online. And I'm here with you today to introduce to you a very special guest. And the reason we're bringing this guest to you live here today on our Facebook and YouTube streaming is because he's actually one of our top speakers that we're inviting to a program we have coming up in London in November. It's a live program in person in the room in London. And that program, as you can see on the screen on the top left there, is called Never Work Again. So this speaker that I'm going to be able to introduce to you for a minute, or actually I'm going to let him introduce himself. This particular speaker is one of our keynote speakers for a program called Never Work Again in London, which is an amazing program brought to you by Success Resources and T. Harv Eker, coming up here in just under a month in London. As I said, it's live and it's in person. So as we go through today, if you like what you hear from our speaker, if you're curious, do go ahead and register to join us at that live event. But we're hearing more about that later on. For now, without further ado, I'd like to kick us off here today and say, look, we're here to talk to you about an amazing new subject. We have this great keynote speaker. I'm going to let him introduce himself. But it's all about this program, Never Work Again, that he's going to be speaking at with us, Success Resources in London next month. So let's get started. I'm going to hand it straight over to you and ask you, please, for our amazing speaker, tell us your name, where you're from, and your field of expertise.
My name is Paul O'Mahony, and I specialize in three primary things: money, marketing, and mindset. Money, marketing, and mindset. You get those three things right, you will be through the rest of your life.
All right, fantastic. I love that. Yeah, very nice too. So before we really kick off, Paul, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today, given everything you've got going on, we really appreciate it. Just wanted to get started with, if you could tell us something in our audience that something that maybe no one in our audience will actually know about you.
Okay, I'll make an assumption that they might know me already, have some details, so that they might not know at all, right, about me? Is that it, Alan?
Yeah, exactly. It could be exactly something they don't know about you. It might be they've come across you before, maybe not. But if there's something unusual about yourself or some experience that you've had in life or some historical something that's gone on that we can know about, that would be great.
Okay, well, I guess that the audience would not know about me. I mean, from a serious standpoint, it might be the mindset that I had once upon a time that, never working again was definitely not on the agenda for at least 10 years of my working life. In fact, just being able to work to retirement was what I was looking forward to as a successful life. That literally was what I was being educated on, schooled on my entire life, was get a really good job that's going to be pensionable, that you can retire at 64. And then, I mean, I joke about never remember again, right? Because it's like so many of us, right? So many of us are building up to have the best time of our life when we can remember the least, right? And the way Alzheimer's, etc., is going is like, why do you want to be having the best experiences of your life when you're the least energy, you have the least recall rate that you're ever going to have, and you have the least people around you that you can enjoy it with who'll also be full of energy. So, but the reason I'm saying the audience may not know this is because today we're talking about never work again. But honestly, at one point in my life, I was so far the other side of this pendulum and so certain of my position, right? Like I could have, got into a discussion about it and said, no, you're wrong, I'm right. But I just want you to be aware of that. If there's any level of skepticism in there, don't panic, don't worry. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. I would say quite the opposite. It would be expected, and it's a good idea to be healthily skeptical, even when you hear words like never work again put in that order.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. Well, I love that, because I guess what that tells us about you is that at this one time in your life, like now you talk about money, marketing, and mindset, right? That's the things that you talked about at the beginning there, but it wasn't always like that for you. And so it just shows, I suppose, that you can completely change it sounds from what you told me today, and I know about it from before as well, that you've done a 180-degree turn in what your expectations about your life was going to be and what you thought. And I totally agree with you. I love that point about never remember again. I mean, the other thing I would say is, who wants to have an adventure when you've only maybe got 5 years left to enjoy the memories of that? You can have it now and have 20, 30 years to enjoy that adventure. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, even friends that you hang out with from, let's say, college days, where does your conversation naturally end up going within just a few minutes? Remember that time that we did this? Remember that time that we did? And you're currently enjoying the laugh and the feeling that you have of going back to that memory at that time. We're here to make memories, not to make money, right? We're here to make memories. Yeah. It's how we use that money in the best possible way to create fulfilling, funny, enjoyable memories. That is what it's all about, right? And if you're in a role where you're not working, or you are working but you don't feel like you are, for me that's also considered never working again, right? So live for the moment. Nice. Live for that moment.
Right. Oh, thank you so much, Paul. I love that last little bit that you said, is that because obviously, saying never working, it's not necessarily that everyone wants to completely stop doing stuff, is it? It's just that a lot of people just want to be free of things that are holding them down, and the feeling like, oh, I've got this millstone around my neck, like you were talking about. You used to think like that before. So I love that point that you could say, well, you could be free to not have to work again if you choose, but actually you might do some things for the love of it. You might want to make some more money to give to some of your family or friends, or to do some nice things with. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. That's a great way of starting today.
We can, I hope Terence doesn't mind, but Terence made a joke last week saying, this is funny, all these speakers on Never Work Again are all working. And I was like, yeah, the funny thing is we are, but we're choosing to, because we don't see this as work. Like it's fun. That for me is what the essence of this is, right? You can continue to create value your entire life and be officially working, but it doesn't feel that way.
Right, absolutely. I mean, just like take today, for example. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy speaking to you. We've met a couple of times over the years, and I just really was looking forward to this. And I do this because I love it, and I'm sure it's the same with you. I mean, you're not being paid to be here today, so that's why we're so grateful for you taking your time.
I'm not what? I need a new manager.
Terence, can you get the memo, please, to Paul? All right, thanks, Paul. So, do you have a phrase that you use, or something that would help our audience to remember you better as we go forward today?
Well, the catchphrase for what I do in the normal day-to-day Rethink social media, which traditionally they know me by, is like, just stop wasting time and start earning money on it, right? That would be quite the tactical one, but but my more general one will be, the moment that you stop inspiring, you start expiring. You might need to just contemplate on that a little bit, but the moment that you stop inspiring, right, you start expiring. And most of us feel that we're in a state of expiration, right? Tired, worn down, lethargic, etc., and not even understanding why we feel like we're in, like, the word expiration is to breathe out. Okay. Yes. So few, and that's how most people are living, right? While very few take the time. And what do we say when someone's in a panicky mode? We say, breathe in, right? Try to inspire. And if you can find in life what inspires you, and the longer you stay in that state of inspiration, the longer you're going to be around. Because for me, that is a truly important motto to live by, is, the moment you stop inspiring, you start expiring. So if you're not inspired, you're expiring. So start thinking about what you can do to inspire yourself. And beyond that, how can you inspire others? Because that's when you start to make a true impact on people across the globe.
Thank you so much, Paul. I love that. Inspiring, yeah, you've got to be inspiring, otherwise it's it's the end of it, isn't it, really? Well, let me ask you, just before we get into your sort of topics today, is just about this Never Work Again event that we have coming up in London. For those of you that are just joining us, Paul is an expert speaker, and he'll be there with us at this live event Success Resources and T. Harv Eker are bringing to London. And for Never Work Again, I'd just like to ask you, what does it mean to you?
Well, I am, and honestly, I am so excited about going to this event. And I was chatting to June and Terence about this last week. Of all the events that I speak at, the energy in the room at that event is the highest. It is the most naturally and sustained level of just peak excitement. And everybody that I meet there are in there to support each other on the journey. You're not going to find complainers. You're not going to find people dragging your energy down. It's absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to get back in a room with that type of environment again, because it's in those events that you start to literally experience and radiate an energy of people that you probably don't find in your normal life. So a lot of us, when we start to look at this transition from planning to work forever to thinking about never working again, we start to find less and less people who think the same thoughts, who feel that this is a truly worthwhile goal to seek out. Then you go and you surround yourself with these people, and every single one of them has the same intention as you. Nobody is trying to compete with you. Everybody's coming from this place of abundance, that the more we support each other, the faster we can all achieve these results together. And just by being in that presence, your energy levels and radiance as a whole will start to increase just by default. So for me, I absolutely love that event. I love the energy that Mac brings to it too. As MC, he's fantastic at this. Yes. And it is one of those events that there is no, like when we talk about memories, it is one of those that you will forever going to remember. You will never forget your first Never Work Again. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. That's great. I love that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Mac does bring an amazing energy to the game there, and I'm very excited to be working with him again. Let me ask you, just moving on to your topic, could you just tell us what the topic is that you're going to be introducing to our students during the program?
Sure. So I'm really excited to speak about this topic because this is something that goes on at the behind the scenes in all of my businesses, which truly is the cog that brings in most of the revenue for the businesses. And it is something that is generally misunderstood, or not understood at all, or in many instances, just a case of something that people don't feel they'll ever be able to do. And it's two primary topics. One is on how to deliver a webinar in a way that you literally will never have to work again, right? If you choose not to. And COVID has brought this transition to my company where I became so overwhelmed by, funnily enough, invitations to webinars online, right? That when you're speaking, you have to make a decision. Do I fly to London? Do I fly to Johannesburg? Do I fly to Brisbane, right? You're only going to do one. But suddenly you could do all three in the same day. So, I mean, talk about a problem you'd like to have, but we got so many invites that I was starting to get drained. That I could be doing 4 or 5 events a day. And, you want to bring the same energy. So it forced me, plus a family situation with my daughter having special needs, it forced me to see, how can I take myself out of this? Even though I'm enjoying it, how can I take myself out of this and still get the exact same impact from a revenue perspective? And I've managed to figure that out over the past 2.5 years. And so I literally could not teach this before in this way because I'd never done it in this way before. And I always at the back of my mind said, well, this is like the ultimate never work again formula. Because when people see how even someone, where they might think my business at a fairly successful level relative to somebody starting out, that even at that level, the massive impact and transformation that can take place in taking yourself out from working, maybe I was working 35 hours a week in the business, to less than 5. And that was in a business I thoroughly enjoyed, but webinars allowed me to do that. And the second part of what I'm going to talk about then is, especially with a crowd like Never Work Again, A lot of them have an interest in creating their own type of product or service of some form. They have an expertise of some degree, or would like to have an expertise of some degree, but they never figured out, well, if I'm on a webinar, I don't even know what to talk about. It's like the first time you talk about an online business, but what am I going to sell, right? Same on a webinar. What am I going to sell? What am I going to talk about? So that for me was a huge gap that was missing. So I was like, okay, well, I want to show you how you can create that product, how it is something that is completely achievable to anybody, right? Anybody willing, that is, to do it, right? So that gives me then the perfect opportunity to share with the audience that both are completely doable tasks. No more excuses, because whether you want to be on the webinar or somebody else do it for you, whether you want to sell your own stuff or somebody else's, you will have the full deck of cards in your hands that you'll be able to do the whole lot. And the issue I have with a lot of programs that are out there with product creation, not with the teachers or the coaches or any of that, but it's more the positioning of it. It's that if you create the product, the assumption is everything is going to happen, right? Your life is going to change. You will never work again. That's not how it works. Without the vehicle to transport that product out across the globe, right? There's no point even for me putting all that time and effort into the product. So that's why we are doing both. We're giving you the vehicle and we're giving you the fuel to drive that vehicle at exactly the same time. Oh, you're muted there, Alan.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, I had myself on mute there. Thanks. Thank you so much, Pat. I love that analogy. Yes, it's the vehicle along with the fuel. And I think it's so right. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning with your, the point about marketing, money mindset marketing, and, to be able to make money, if you don't know how to market, how are you even going to get people to come and buy stuff? Now, it sounds like what you're doing is saying, well, you not only have to make the thing, but you also got to get it under people's noses so that they can say if they want it or not, right? So I love that duality there. You've got the opportunity to give people a chance to just get themselves out there. Just having a look at my next question here. Why specifically this niche topic of webinars and content creation and all of that sort of stuff? Is it for everybody or is it for a specific group of individuals?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So if you are, I know you wouldn't be in this situation and watching this, but if you were sitting at home and you are 100% abdicating all responsibility around income moving forward, you're just crossing your fingers, hoping that things are going to work out economically, you're hoping that mortgage interest rates are suddenly going to start dropping instead of continuing to increase, and you're hoping that you're going to somehow get a pay rise that will surpass inflation, when we all know deep down that it ain't happening. This isn't for you, right? Because this involves you stepping out of the mode of it's everybody else's fault, not me. It's about and stepping in and saying, the situation that I'm in today, I created it. I'm going to take responsibility for it. But if I want to get to this position where I don't have to get stressed, anxious, worried, nervous about my future or my family's future financially by just doing what other people are not doing, but in fact doing what the wealthy business owners are doing to insulate ourselves from any type of financial crash, you need to be doing this. Because think about it. If things do go down this horrible course that they're looking like they will, where power cuts and all these kind of things, what are people going to want to learn about then, right? Their problems are going to change. How do I grow my own food from home? How do I set my house up for expecting power cuts, etc.? If you have the ability to offer those products and services of yours or somebody else's, and you have the vehicle to do it with a webinar, it doesn't matter what happens in the external world, because you can always solve people's problems and have the mechanism to doing it. So when everything is going great, it's great. When everything isn't going great, it's still great. Because what you're doing is you're adapting from focused on being worried about yourself and actually stepping back and thinking, well, what is everybody else worried about, and how do I make their lives easier by offering them the products and services that they need to get through this current situation?
That's great. Thank you so much there, Paul. Yeah, I was just reflecting on what you said there. I like what you talked about, the problem solution thing, because everybody has the capacity to solve some sort of a problem. Everybody has some experience that's valuable, don't they? And I guess what you're saying is this is a vehicle to take whatever life experience you have, or whatever, if some people might learn a skill and then teach it straight away. So it might be a skill that people don't yet have. But the point is, you're saying, I suppose, with webinar creation, you're ready to adapt to any changes in the global economy or your local economy, and to be able to offer that webinar. It doesn't have to be to your neighbors down the street. If your city is going through the worst recession in the world, well, I guess you could sell to somebody in China or India or South America, something like that. And that sounds like, from what you said, it sounds like it's quite broad and wide ranging, and this could be for pretty much anybody.
Absolutely anybody. So like, everybody, so many people are now worried about this massive market crash, right? What if you just suddenly start promoting how to profit from a market crash? But you say, but Paul, I don't know how to do that. You say, guess what? Do you know who knows how to do that? No, a professional in who knows how to do that, So find the webinar of the experts who know how to profit in a crash, right? And introduce it to all those people panic about it. And you realize, wow, so many of us feel like we need to be the problem solver. Our ego is actually in the way, right? The ego is the enemy, as Ryan Holiday says in his book. It's so true. The reason why so many people find money hard to come by is they put themselves in the middle, right? Everything has to go through them, right? Through their, inverted commas, the way things should be. The sooner you step back and just realize that money is going to flow whether you're there or not, you just got to learn how to jump into that flow by leveraging the mechanisms that, like, I smile now when I listen to a mainstream media, because the words webinars and Zoom have become adapted into regular vocabulary. That was not the case 2 years ago, right? You would, if you spoke to your friends in a bar 3 years ago and talked about webinars, they would not have known what you were talking about, right? So you're not learning the black magic anymore, right? In fact, it even makes it more important that you are learning this now before this just becomes the norm, that people go, well, why aren't you running a webinar on it? Why don't you do? Because it's only a matter of time that people are going to start to see information exchange, information businesses are the lowest risk and the highest return opportunities that exist right now, right? There's no outlay of cash required. There's no massive time investment required. It's just being smart about the time that you spend and offering people what they want.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. Well, I can see they've thrown up the next question there for you. It's about risk and reward. Would you be able to comment on how what you're offering and what you're going to be teaching about and speaking about and Never Work Again? How does that impact upon risk and reward? I mean, what are the rewards, the potential rewards like, and what's the risk like?
Yeah, actually, it segues nicely from what I was just speaking about, because you have to look at, okay, from a risk standpoint, what am I talking about here? What could I possibly lose out on? Okay, the investment of coming to the event and listening to, right? That will be overcome, just the time investment and money investment in coming. That will be overcome tenfold just by the energy and the connections you're going to make in the room. That is just a given, right? But when you start to listen to me speak about this mechanism, where right now, if you're on this, you're probably somebody who comes onto webinars a lot, right? So you are very much in consumption mode. You are a consumer, like most people on the phone, consumers. I want to show you how you move to producer mode. The risk in staying in consumer mode is you will continue to spend and spend and spend and be distracted more and more so, time-wise and money-wise. What does your phone do every single day? It distracts your focus, your energy, your time, your money, right? It basically owns you. That's the biggest risk of all, is that you will completely lose sight of purpose, of vision, and of your goals and your destiny and what it is you're meant to be doing on this planet. If you want to get big about this, right? And you might go, how on earth have you gone from webinars to that? Because of this device and how you use it. It could be your greatest weapon for financial freedom, or the greatest weapon of single mass destruction of goals. People who are lost, people who don't have a focus, use this as their compass. They use this as their compass. You might say, Paul, what is that on your cover? Inside my cover of my phone, because my phone, when I put it down, like most people, is upside down, I literally have my mission statement, my top two goals, my top two intentions right now, and my feelings associated with those, and specific mantras that I have on this, so that every time I pick it up, I'm forced to look at what it is that I'm here to do today, tomorrow, this week, this month, right? So we need you to get from that state of consumption to production, because you're surrounded by consumers, and ironically, they're the people that think the producers are the people taking the biggest risk. When the producers will nod and agree and say, yeah, sure, we're taking the biggest risk, when in fact they are the people that are receiving all of the income from those people that are consuming their that content, that products, those services every single day of the week.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Paul. Well, I've got a few more questions. I'm going to try to smash through these as we get heading towards the end of the interview just here. So one question is, what kind of situation do most investors usually face when they start to get involved? So when people buy a program with you and they start getting into content creation, and webinars and things, what's the sort of situation they usually expect to face?
So the first question will be the dilemma: do I start with my own thing or somebody else's, right? And so that's very easy to overcome, and that's what we'll work directly with people on that as well. How advanced is this idea of yours? Is it saleable already? Is it available already? No. Okay. If it's not, most people, if you ask them, do you want money sooner or later, they're going to say sooner. We say, okay, well, if you want to hit the finish line sooner, let's just focus on the mechanism. Let's focus on how you get a webinar set up, organized and ran, promoting a product or service that's already out there, right? But having that mechanism of the webinar is what's absolutely critical. Then you can always come with your own stuff later. And that's exactly how I started back in 2009. Other people's stuff first, then my stuff later. So I'm not, every single person's situation is going to be slightly different. So I can't say, one stop fits for everybody, without actually asking them, well, that first question, where are you at with that product or service right now? Is it more in dream idea mode, or is this something that is proven to work and convert, but you just need to learn how to get it in front of more people or have a better way of selling it?
All right, thank you so much, Paul. Well, moving on, just to ask you a question, when was the last time you were surprised or shocked about something?
Was I surprised or shocked about something? I think last night, from a kind of very personal one, my eldest daughter is nonverbal, and she literally repeated two words that I said almost perfectly after me. It really took me by surprise in a really nice way, in a very kind of poignant way. I think, okay, there's definitely hope here. So that definitely caught me by surprise. Just something that happened in the last 12 hours.
Gosh, wow, but thank you for sharing that. That's a wonderful story to share. Very personal. I really appreciate that, Paul. Thank you so much. Well, moving back onto your topic, could you tell the audience 3 tips or tricks that probably they didn't already know that could be useful to them, whether it's working with you or even in just general in their other pursuits or goals?
Absolutely. So speaking from a, let's say, webinar and product creation perspective, right? Even if you're not coming, right, which you need to work on, we do need to get you there to London, but things that you can start thinking about right away. Every time you are on a web class or invited to come to a Success Resources web class, listen to your first thought. Is it, I don't know if I want to come onto this, they're probably going to sell me something, right? Or not another web class, or is that clashing with something else? Or I'm already too big. It's asking yourself every single time you sit down to watch a webinar, whose knowledge is being distilled down to just a single hour here, right? And what can I learn from the positioning of that product or service by this expert at the end of it? So when you start looking at webinars and you move from just being a student, we're all students, right? But when you move from being just a student and start thinking about, okay, wow, look at the way that was done. Look at the way I didn't even feel sold to, and I'm being offered something. Look at how I really want this, even though I committed to myself, I'm not going to buy anything. That's when you start to grow in your awareness And you are going to become so much better as a consumer and a producer when you start to become more refined in your perspective around webinars. Show up to anybody that is coming onto a Success Resources webinar. You should be on it, because you're learning from a professional at what they do and how to position products and services in the best possible way. Second thing is, while on those webinars, you might come onto a topic that you're not going to come on because you think, I've no interest in that. That's the one I especially want you to show up to, because look at how that person is able to convince you. Let's say it's about artificial intelligence, right? And you're sitting at home going, I have no idea about that. Sounds crazy to me. Saw a movie once, stopped watching it, right? Now go watch that webinar on artificial intelligence, for example, or NFTs, let's say, right? And look at how in 1 hour, this complete stranger on a topic you said you didn't want to know about has you almost, if not compelled, to get you to buy and spend money on that product or service that you actually were against only an hour earlier. That is the art and science of how a webinar can completely, not just convince you of an opinion you already had, which is step one. Step two, can completely transform an opinion that was the opposite into the other way around and make you an avid buyer just a few minutes later. Watch them from that perspective.
I love that. I love that, Paul. I'm actually going to be a bit cheeky and cut you right off there, because you've given us a few tips there. And I wanted to just ask you to hold some in reserve, ready for never work again, if that's all right with you. And I'm going to move on to the other questions there. So look, guys, if you're with us enjoying this webinar live, or you're watching it later recorded, as I said, this is all about Paul O'Mahony. He is going to be delivering content creation webinar topic at Never Work Again. He's going to be teaching you really how to make money from your living room, from your laptop, and it's really exciting. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, do make sure we'll have links posted in the chat. Sometimes we'll put a little link up here on screen. You can just make sure you go and register so you can hear live from Paul, learn more from him and all of his tips and tricks when you come to London. Now, thank you for moving on. What is one piece of advice you would have given yourself 10 years ago, or you wish you'd given yourself 1 year ago? Or we might just say a piece of advice for anyone starting out right now in this area.
Listen more and question less. Very simple. Right. Listen more, question less. Get that ego out of the way. Just admit to yourself you do not know what you don't know. And listen to experts who are ahead of you in that specific area. Don't get drowned in the noise and malaise of the common conversation that focuses on low energy topics and complaining, abdicating responsibility, anxiety, nervousness, and numbing that with different forms of drugs. Now, and I know that's kind of a little bit out there, but it is so true, because it's your environment that creates everything, right? You become a reflection of them and them you. So my advice would be, listen to those that you're looking up to in that area, learn from them, and then just imitate it. Question it later, right? But you can't really question something that you don't know anything about to begin with. Just get into it, do it, and make it happen.
Absolutely. I love that. Actually, just got to throw yourself full in. And then, if you find with some experience that you want to make some tweaks, go ahead and tweak it. But you can't tweak something you haven't done anything with, right? So
my first mentor, because I was a director in a company, in a multinational company, I was paid to find faults in presentations, right? I'd see something, see a mistake, and point it out. Then my first mentor, who was younger than me, I kept saying, well, why are you doing that? Why? And he just said to me one day, you can improve my process when you've made your first $1 million. How about that? I remember thinking, wow, talk about putting somebody in their place. But he was absolutely within his rights to say that to me. And I've never forgotten that statement. It's like, okay, you can improve it when you've got something better, not this hypothetical, theoretical, why don't you do this?
Exactly. And we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we've got to learn from them first, haven't we? So love that. Thank you, Paul. So moving on, if you had some advice to people who are thinking to develop their own online content, their own webinars, their own courses, what would you say to people, that maybe you wish you'd known earlier? What advice would you give to people about starting to develop online content now?
I would, two things. Look at what people are looking for right now. What do people want? It doesn't Zig Ziglar puts it well, right? Where you can have anything in life that you want if you would just give other people what they need, right? So, focus on what it is that other people are looking for. Then look at what you have and see, can you create some kind of a bridge? Don't worry about the technology of webinars or any of that yet. Just focus on at least in your own mindset, understanding, there's a massive gap there right now. I've got something that I could possibly bridge here. I'll come in and show you how the product creation and webinar creation can pull all of that together into one coherent plan for you. But for now, in the meantime, start to think about what's being looked for. What are people ready to spend their money on right now in a time when you would at least think theoretically that people are tightening up financially? What would they still be willing to spend money on right now? And where on my expertise ladder, or who do I know has a product or a service that lots of people could benefit from right now, but that person just doesn't know how to get it in front of them?
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. And as we've been going through this interview, you talked about the 3 M's, the money, mindset, and marketing. And this brings me on to the question of money, which I haven't really gotten into very deeply just yet. We've talked about it more generally, but the question is, why is webinar creation a must-have stream of income for everyone? But I know that the people are watching are going to want me to ask you some maybe cheeky questions and push you a little bit further. So I'd love to ask you, could you tell us, actually, are there any examples of how much money people have made, whether it's you or your students, in sort of pound or dollar terms from a webinar, or maybe it's not the lifetime value, but maybe it's a monthly value, or a record, something like that. Some real number crunching. That would be really great to hear.
I'm going to use some of those words that you mentioned and be clever with them. You use the word record, use proof.
Yeah.
If you actually just look behind me here, this is real, as in I can touch this.
Yes.
And this, and I also have this, by the way. This is the beauty of webinars, right? You can have a green screen if you wish, which I will be talking about in person. But each of those they're separate webinars, and each of those generated $10 million each last year from individual webinars. Now, people, even visitors of friends of mine who come in and they look at that, not a single one has picked up yet that it says 10 million, not 1 million, because their brain doesn't process that amount of zeros. I've never corrected anybody. I thought, it's not interesting. That's to go, what? You made $1 million? I said, yeah. And that one too, you made a second one? Yeah. And if I zoom out, you'll see I've got 2 more here for 1 million each. They're gold ones. But that's what I mean about where the level that you're at with people, they don't even sometimes see what is literally in front of their eyes, right? It becomes too much for them to comprehend. So when I'm talking to audiences about this, I don't start off with, hey, 20 million last year with a couple of webinars, or how multiple people have come to my workshop over the years and quit their jobs. Teachers, IT specialists, lawyers, people who had living the dream, the professional job, and so suddenly, off of just a couple of webinars, made more in 2 or 3 webinars than they would make in an entire year as a professional, which they spent 22 years training to get to that point, as in from age 0 to qualifying from college. And it generally, I would say more often than not, if you're ever listening to these success stories, or actually, I'll bring this to Never Work Again to show you, I just picked up these awards in Orlando 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, September 25th, something like that. They had a walk of fame where these were turned into people's names. There were over 1,200 people's names that had made at a minimum 1 million. To the guy that was had the highest award, he had made 400 million. Wow. 1,200 people between 1 million and 400 million. And amazing. 85%, I would suggest, of those people made them through webinars. Wow. Right? Where their initial contact with somebody was with a webinar.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. Well, thank you for being willing to play the game there and, answer the cheeky question about money, but that's absolutely phenomenal. And just on that last point there, before I move on to the last question or two, obviously, like you said, people aren't going to be coming with a mindset necessarily where they'll think to be making, that kind of money straight away. But you've said some people have been able to quit their jobs. So I guess it's, to start off with, there are people who've been able to make enough money to live off of, at the very least. We're not talking 20 million.
That's the thing about mindset, right? And you only get it looking back retrospectively. The moment that you decide, this is why these events are so important. The moment that you decide and you show up and you see everybody so excited and you truly believe 100% that this is going to happen for you. And then you decide to be happy about that now, right? Yeah. That you don't attach your happiness to that day when that $1 million arrives in the post or in your bank account, but you actually start enjoying it right away, not spending it, but enjoying the feeling of knowing in every cell in your body that this is going to happen. That's success. That's the mindset that most people will never get to, because they're in an energy where it's, I want, right? And it doesn't matter how much they get. They want more. So they're coming from a place of emptiness rather than abundance. But it's when you get into that mindset, and that's what happens with a live event, of knowing with absolute certainty that it's going to happen. You don't know what day, right? You don't know what month. You don't even know what year. In fact, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that you know, suddenly mountains will move for you. People that you never knew will show up. Friends that you knew that you didn't know they were into this suddenly start resonating. Opportunities will be everywhere. And then everything changes, because the biggest word I have to use in my business right now is no, not yes. When you reach a certain amount of success in your business, you have to learn how to say no to people, because there's opportunities every single day of the week. They never stop, but you can just get pulled so thin, right? And that's what happened with my own business, until we said, okay, let's pull all this back. Let's automate this again. And so that we don't have to work again within this situation. So that's where mindset comes in. And when you know for certain that this is going to happen, and you're not connecting your happiness or your significance or who you are to that day when that money comes in, because that's only money at the end of the day, but it's the being present and, accepting that gift today, that it's going to happen for you, everything changes.
Thank you. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love that, and I can really resonate with that. I know, I've got personal stories about that, just like you do, and I 100% agree. But we've got very little time left. So I'm going to move on to the last, just a couple of points, really. And some people would say, well, there are other webinar creation masters in the market. So what is it that makes you different? Why you?
Yeah, I agree. There are. I agree. The difference I would see is quite significant, in that I know this is broad strokes, and I'm not a big fan of using broad strokes, but with the time that we have, I have to, with broad strokes, say all of those people that do that, right? They're making their money from teaching how to create webinars, where I'm showing you this kind of from behind the scenes of what's working within 7 of my businesses, that this is the mechanism that changes absolutely everything. But here's what not a single person can compare with myself, in that I'm 11 years now speaking on some of the biggest stages in the world, up to 8,000 people at one time. And I've learned everything I feel you can learn up to this point about how to manage an audience, how to win over an audience, how to sell without being salesy. And I can take all of that skill set and bring it in to this session. Well, partially this session. You can't fit everything into that time, but as much as I can, to show to you and save you the decades of experience as to how you can combine the magnetism of a stage speaker with the technicality of being able to deliver it across Zoom or a similar platform. And also, for any of you considering moving and working from home, how to show yourself in the best possible light in the new world of remote working, because people are moving there anyway. So I want to just kind of take a very realistic view on where you're at, and this place that you can absolutely go to. But as I said at the start, modeling somebody who has been there, done that, showing you from the inside out exactly what works, and to I suppose address those fears that you may have quite naturally about, oh, I don't like selling, I'm not technical, I'm introverted, I don't want to have the camera on, all of these things that will immediately jump up and try to stop you, like they tried to stop me over a decade ago. I've been there, done that, know exactly how it feels, and I can still be introverted and run webinars, whether you believe me or not, but I am very much an introvert. I'll probably say won't talk much for the rest of the day now. And it's just to show you so much is possible when you're just resonating with the person and you go, you know what, I get this. Without the hype, without the exaggeration, it's very real. It's something that literally anybody that can use Gmail, can use, you know, the internet to book flights and holidays. If you can't do that, okay, there's not much I can do for you. You'll need to get, you know, a grandchild or somebody to help you with that. But, you know, if you're able to use the basics on computers, which most people are, you're absolutely able to do this. If you're able to watch a webinar, you're able to deliver one. If you don't want to deliver it, I'll show you how to find someone else that can do it for you. Plus, within the Rethink Academy, here's something, again, completely unique that no one else will have. We have 200 separate partners that we do webinar exchanges with. There's no one out there that has that level of relationship building, which is another advantage that we have, where you don't have to have a big traffic budget. We can show you how to meet people and do partnership deals with people without spending a penny.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. That's really got that clear in my head. And yeah, I love the way that you help people and how it's different to others. And really, it's like you said, it's behind the scenes stuff. It's the real stuff, the business side of it, which is how you make the money, not just about how to do the content, isn't it? So I love that aspect that you bring to the game. So just finally then, just taking into account your own thoughts about the current situation in the world, the global sort of challenges that we face, and the future situations we might come up, could you just share with our audience today why you would encourage them to attend NWA, particularly in person, rather than delaying or, you know, trying to go to things virtually?
Look, here's the thing, right? I'm coming to London to teach you how to make money virtually, right? That's just a fact. Why are we becoming obsessed around virtual and making money virtually? Because we can understand very quickly that the world is moving more and more in that direction. There's not a single one of us, at least I feel, that doesn't think what happened last year and the year before will happen again. We all know it's going to happen again, right? It's just a matter of when. The fact that the doors are open now, the fact that the planes are taking off and landing now, the fact that you have an opportunity to come now is as much of a signal as you need then to get your tickets booked and go, because literally we could be shut down for all Christmas again. I'm hoping it's not. But at any point, we now have a formula for COVID-23. Oh, here we go, right? The alarm goes off. It's time to shut everything down. Everybody knows what it means this time. So we've become orchestrated into knowing what shutdown means, what it would mean. It's just a case of how long it's for. So if you've been in, oh, I wish things would open up, and now they're open, oh, I might wait till next year. I might wait till things are a bit safer. You might be waiting forever. That's the problem. Right? You want to be getting in person, seeing us in person to learn how to make money virtually. It's literally, we want you to get the best of both worlds. When the doors are open, come running in those doors, because when they close again, that it doesn't matter to you that your income suddenly shuts off, right? Because, and I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but I will, right? When things shut down again, as there inevitably will in the next few years, the governments can no way be as generous as they were this time around. The money just quite simply isn't there, right? You can look at the UK economy collapsing right in front of all of our eyes right now. We have to stop looking there and feeling like it's out of our control. It's what can we do as quickly as possible to bring things within our control. And I can assure you, get in a room with 400 other people of the same energy, vibrating at this level, with speakers who are all making the effort to fly from all over the world, because we want to make sure we can take advantage of the fact that we're able to travel, that we're able to see the world again for this time being, and share as much as we can to allow you to take as much action as possible, so that when you come out of that event, end of November, 2023 is just going to be the most exciting year of your life, that you are using December to be so inspired and strategic around how next year is something not to be concerned about. It's exactly the opposite, that you're so excited about the opportunities that lay ahead for you and your family.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Paul. Well, I think we've sort of, reached really the end of our time together here. But before we wrap up, I just want to extend a personal thanks, not only from myself, obviously, but also on behalf of Success Resources and T. Harv Eker, who I know are delighted and thrilled to have you coming to speak for us live at Never Work Again. So, guys, if you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube or watching the recording, whatever way around, show some love in the chat. Let's give it up for Paul. Thank you so much for being here with us. We really look forward to seeing you live in person and Never Work Again in London. Thank you so much, Paul.
I'll see you there, guys.
Thank you. And before we wrap up now, guys, last thing to say is see that link there. It should be in the chat, but also on the screen there, millionairemindworld.com/QL/NWA, and that is for Never Work Again. That's the program we've been talking about, which is the program coming up in London in November, and it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn live from Paul O'Mahony and a number of other keynote speakers that Success Resources have put together just for you to be able to learn how to make money online, at home, wherever the different speakers are talking about, so that you never have to work again. And as Paul, our guest today, spoke about, it's about never have to work again. Maybe there are things you want to do, but never work again is all about having the freedom of choice to do what you want to do with your life. And that's what Never Work Again is all about. So do come and join us for Never Work Again. Really excited to see you guys there. It's just going to be an amazing, amazing event. I'm going to be there in person as well as Mac Atram, the trainer from T. Harv Eker as well. So we look forward to having you all there live in the room. If you've already registered, we look forward to seeing you there. If you haven't yet registered, I'll go ahead and encourage you to sign up, register, and join us for this mind-blowing event. It's our first major live event in London, and I'm really excited to see you there. So go ahead and register. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon.
It's time to wake up. I'm going to be 26. Time to wake up. In the next 2 years, 3 years, your financial situation should not be the same as it is now. I don't believe you. I will be a millionaire. I don't believe you. I will be a millionaire. I don't believe you. I will be a
Started with nothing. I was absolutely broke. I just had a mentor, and I decided to do whatever he told me. Not listen to him, do.
Instead of asking the question, why wasn't everybody else doing it, or why isn't everybody else doing it, the question we now need to start asking ourselves is, why amn't I doing it?
I really recommend it. Go into that course if you really want to change your life.
The experience has been mind-blowing.
You learn so much about myself, about my beliefs, about some emotions.
Tell them what your mission is. Shout.